Hello buddy, it's Warden here with some early access high elf on greenskin action. And this time around it's a bit of friendly multiplayer, squaring off against Indypride from Milk and Cookie Still War on the map Empire Unfortified. So obviously in this matchup we're both rocking some experimental builds, testing out some of the new units, some of the reworked units, some of the changed units, seeing what performance we can get out of them, seeing how well they perform. And I myself am going to be testing out Mr. Elf Waaagh. Imric, rocking and rolling on his gorgeous Star Dragon here, a wonderful Azure Blue, and this guy has already generated lots of screams of OP, and well, he very well might be. He's got some insane abilities. Now, very expensive. This guy does cost over 3,300 fully kitted out, but he does have some awesome perks. Lord of the Dragons being the first and foremost here. A single target debuff. You can point and click on anything you choose. It's not limited to heroes or anything. Last 30 seconds, minus 24 melee defense, minus 40 melee attack. Very, very potent. Synergizes nicely with other units, as well as himself. He also does get the Dragon Horn, which is essentially an Elf Waaagh. He doesn't have to charge in melee. It's just a 120-second cooldown. Lasts only 16 seconds, but gives all units fear and 24 melee attack. He also does have the Star Lance, which is a monstrous boost to his melee damage, boosting his AP damage by 25%, gives him more charge speed, more charge bonus, and imbues flammable onto his attacks, which is actually a personal buff because he is mounted on dragon, so he's doing fire damage, so he's doing an extra 22% against whatever target he's focusing on. Besides that, well, he's a Star Dragon with better stats. He's absolutely monstrous. He's got the breath attack. He's got fear, terror, resistance to fire, which actually isn't normal on a Star Dragon. He does have missile resist, so very, very tanky. Alongside him, we're actually not bringing Lore of Life. I'm sure that's a bit of a surprise to some of you guys, but we're rocking one of the new lores here, Mage of Metal. And my reasoning here is that, well, if Indy wants to counter Imric, he's going to have to blob a lot, and we can punish that with a final transmutation. So taking advantage of the new lores the high elves have available with this mage here, riding along on a steed. She does have both the Starwood Staff as well as the Book of Hoeth, providing extra winds of magic, as well as Searing Doom in case I need to bombard some goblins. Frontline is composed of the brand new Rangers. These guys are a squishy budget war dancer, essentially. They do have the Forest Strider trait, so they, as well as the Woodsman trait here, so they perform much better if you can take a fight in the trees. They actually pass through trees as well. That's what Woodsman means. And if you now see this trait on a unit, you know what it means. These guys do trade rather well into other cheap soft infantry, and I figured if Indy brings in a goblin front line, they should do well. Besides that, we do have some Illyrian Reavers to screen out Indy's skirmishers. We do have two small cavalry contingents, each composed of silver helms as well as war lines of Crace. The silver helms providing a bit of pinning and holding power and something to deal with squishier chaff, while the war lines provide a little bit of AP oomph. These guys are kind of like high elf razor gores or something, though a bit nippier, with better, I believe, leadership. They do have Strider, missile resist, in fact, and so they're actually not as susceptible as one might expect to missiles. They actually got 20% missile resist there. And finally, we do have the Regiment of Renown War Lions, the Waagh's Pride. These guys do have an insane debuff here. -8 leadership, as well as -25% speed in AoE with Mighty Roar. Now for Indy's build. It's going to be a bit of a monstrous bonanza here with the Goblin Great Shaman rocking his new mount, that brand new Ragnarok with the wonderful, with its fancy little howdah here. I believe it's called the Spellweaver platform, but regardless, he does have the Don't Even Try It. This is basically a free, or well, it's a bound version of Arcane Unforging, only plus 15 ability recharge time, but still very powerful and good single entity damage. Of course, Arcane Conduit, good for that extra winds magic. He's got Gorkle Fix It, a terrifying snare that could very much put Imric in the dumpster if he gets caught out. You do also have the Sneaky Stabbin' for the wonderful buffs. Vindictive Glare to potentially snipe out Imric or maybe some key targets, maybe my mage. And Sneaky Steal to reduce my winds magic. And mounted on a Ragnarok, it's a fearsome sight to behold. The Ragnarok for the Goblin Great Shaman actually didn't get reworks. The normal Ragnarok is now actually down to 120 armor, but the Ragnarok that this Goblin Great Shaman rides is up to 150, so it is still an absolute beefcake. Alongside him, we do have some Goblin Big Bosses. These guys are mounted on spiders, and of course, they are rocking the brand new You Need Stabbin' ability, or They Need Stabbin'. -30 armor, -24 melee defense on a targeted hero, combined with speed from Slippery. It's going to make it very hard for Imric to escape, and there are two of these Goblin Big Bosses, so Indy can stagger out those debuffs. Besides that, we do have a front line composed largely of goblins, kind of trash. They're just going to soak up the charges. My Woodsman should do very well against these guys, or say Woodsman, the Rangers should do well against these guys. They are backed by some Orc Boys, and even more terrifying, some Black Orcs. And so this is a bit of a classic greenskin lineup. Obviously, Waaagh has been reworked, so it has to charge in melee, so Indy's not going to be able to Waaagh against me. right away. So instead he's sort of poking away here with the Booker Marauders, Death Reapers, all these troops trying to whittle down my Rangers and pick off a few models with a little HP there. In turn, I'm countering with my Living Reavers there and exchanging blow for blow. Besides that, Indy does have Doom Divers who are already seeking out the unfortunate Rangers and whittling them down. 10 models off those poor guys over there. Doom Divers have gone up in cost in this patch, up to 1,000 gold now. Some Orc War Barbarians rocking that extra 10 armor that they received. They're up to 85 armor, as you can see. And backed up by the Goblin Big Boss, a potent anti-large force. Finally, anchoring things, we do have the Night Goblins, the 8-peak loonies, and they're still right. I don't know why they're still described as Night Goblins, why the card is crap, but these guys do have the 8-peak loons, and this has actually been reworked. The loonies are now a targetable wind spell, sort of like a short-range wind blast or something, and they can do a lot of hurt. Now that you can target them, loonies always did a lot of damage, but now they can just devastate infantry lines. So my poor Rangers here might have a terrible day of it. Regardless, we are going to commit here. Silverhelms diving into the flank of these filthy gobos as the Rangers commit to the front line here. Debuffs coming in from Indy there and weakening my entire line with a Gorkle Fix-It here, trying to keep my troops in place. Dragonhorn goes off, buffing everyone here by 24 melee attack, and these gobos will not last long as my whole line is buffed here. In the meantime, my cavalry pivoting around the flank, looking for an opening there as good old Emmerich dives in, terrifying those gobos and buckling Indy's line instantly. Unfortunately, things are not going as hot over here on the flank, where Gorkle Fix-It is kind of punishing my Silverhelms for getting shot to crap. That said, Illyrian Reavers punishing the Ogres and Marauders, removing a lot of models off these guys. But over here, you can see a bit of a disaster. As Emmerich gets surrounded, he's popped all of his buffs, his abilities. I thought I could get some fighting here. They need stabbing going down, putting him into the dumpster, but I counteract with a final transmutation, like I was saying earlier. He's going to have to blob to counter me, so we're going to punish that. Waagh's Pride popping that Mighty Roar, debuffing everybody here with speed as well as leadership, potentially helping Emmerich escape as Terror out. As the first Waaagh goes off, Doom Divers are taken offline here by the Purple Lines and the Silverhelms. And as you can see, we've swept this flank because Indy had to fall back with his Black Orcs to deal with his central pocket, trying to snag Emmerich. And in that time, we've used our cavalry to sweep his troops off the field. And you can see we're just running away here and sweeping everything away. Now, these Silverhelms here are very badly beaten up. Obviously, I have no heals and even if I did, Silverhelms. We did get whittled down there. They need stabbing, still sitting on Emmerich. He's had a rough time here, taking a bit of fire. We breath these filthy orcs and immediately buckle their leadership rather nicely there. The Rangers here trading rather effectively into the Gobos. 74 kills. Of course, with the Waaagh having gone off, they're performing rather nicely. And now Emmerich is looking for a little bit of a cheeky rear charge to cause some terror. At this stage, Indy has used up his debuffs, so I figured it's pretty safe to land. I've already kind of lost half my HP earlier, so can't get much worse. So what we're going to do here is take a little bit of a breather. We're going to run off Indy's peripheral troops, get rid of all these guys. Over here, a little bit of a mistake. The Rangers get caught out of position. Indy does counteract with an Gorkle Fix-It, snag these guys. Yeah, give me a bad day. In the meantime, over here, cavalry performing nicely, running off all of Indy's skirmish troops. Illyrian Reavers performing admirably there. Silverhelm's doing very nicely. And all in all, bouncing power is definitely in our favor right now. The Night Goblin, or the Goblin Big Bosses, did lose quite a bit of HP earlier to the final transmutation. Even the Goblin Great Shaman suffered a bit. And so really, Indy's kind of reduced to this tiny pocket here. The 8-peak loonies down to 19 models, not where they want to be in life. Trying to shut down the Silverhelms there. But this Ragnarok here is just caked in blood at this point. Just look at that. He's definitely had a feast tonight. The Goblin Big Boss is sticking around, and Indy at this point can't really engage. Everything that I've got left is very mobile. This sole unit of Rangers is doing cleanup in Aisle 9. I didn't really want to engage too soon. I was kind of waiting on a final transmutation, but then I realized it's going to take a while. So at this point, I was kind of looking for an opening to sort of get back to fighting. And as I see these Black Orcs here kind of skirmishing around, we actually take a little bit of arrow fire there, which does debuff us, and I'm going to make a massive misplay here. Because while I'm waiting for my Winds of Magic to recharge, I figured I can get a cheeky dive on these Black Orcs. I can do some damage. Well, no. The dive takes me straight through the Black Orcs, where we promptly get snagged. Don't even try it hitting me for that debuff, followed up by a charge from this mob here. The Goblin Big Boss is hitting me with their debuffs. They need stabbing on poor Emmerich. He's tanking down to 50 armor. Everything is looking awful right now. I'm throwing the game, and so here we go. Illyrian Reavers diving into the melee. Waagh's Pride diving in. All my cavalry just trying to save Emmerich right now on a bit of a suicidal run here, blocking off the big bosses and breaking that pansy goblin leadership. Simultaneously, Silverhelm's here getting a rear charge into the Orc by big guns, and as Indy blobs, we are going to get enough Winds of Magic for another final transmutation. Mighty Roar helping crack the leadership of the lower leadership Greenskin troops. These guys are still very much blobbed. We've almost got the Winds of Magic. At this point, we're just kind of holding out, trying to get that final transmutation. Imric in an awful spot here. He does pop Dragonhorn, though. Second Elf Waaagh going down. Final transmutation going down soon. Still hasn't gone down. I know he goes down some point, but spoiler, I guess. We're going to get a final transmutation off here. Beautiful stuff. And it's going to melt this blob. The heroes do not stand a chance. The Blackrooks are losing models to that. We are going to get a nice little breath attack here on the Goblin Great Shaman. And Imric is going to come back for revenge because, well, Goblin Great Shaman, while certainly a potent fighter, does not have the best leadership. So Imric diving in a battle of the Titans here. Star Dragon on a Ragnarok, Beastie on Beastie, is going to lift the Buckler's leadership, take advantage of that full surround, and crack the Greenskin mob. And it's going to be a bit of a brutal smackdown here as the High Elves simply crack the entirety of the Greenskin army. Black Orcs holding out a little longer. They do have immune psychology, so they're not going to run out as easily. But we just got to clean these guys up. My mage actually comes in here to chase the Goblin Great Shaman. The AP Loonies are gone by this point, and it's going to be GG for the High Elves. A very close game that at the end I almost threw with my YOLO with Imric, thinking I could get some cheeky charges. Now, this match I think nicely highlights some of the changes that were implemented or being implemented in this patch. I think Imric is pretty insane. Now keep in mind, Imric is 3,300, so I think for what he provides, he's not too expensive, but at the same time, he's also not cheap. It's not like you're getting him for 2,500 or 3,000 or whatever. He costs a good chunk of change. And while certainly a good combatant, as you saw here, he can get swarmed, he can get debuffed, he can get surrounded, and of course, because you're paying so much for him, it is hard to support him effectively, because this army isn't super cheap, or this army isn't super elite or anything. This is a fairly cheap army all over. The most expensive unit here, besides Imric, is the Waagh's Pride, which costs 1025. So nothing crazy there. Rangers did some excellent work. I think Rangers are probably a little bit overtuned, though it might just be me. They certainly do cleave through infantry very nicely. And of course, with the Elf Waaagh going down from Imric, the Dragonhorn, they do eradicate units like Goblins or Boys very efficiently. Elite Reavers shining as always. They are in fact cheaper now, only costing 700, so I was able to bring them here much more easily. The War Lions providing some excellent AP. These guys actually gaining some chevrons in the course of that battle, I believe. Doing some good work against the Black Orcs, against the Boar Boys, and against the Skirmish Cav, because they do have that missile resist. They do have decent speed. We were able to run Indy's troops off the field, get rid of these skirmishers. That helped us a lot. Of course, having Mage of Metal, excellent blob punish tool, and obviously we miss out on the healing for Imric, but your opponent has the blob to counter him, so it worked. Now for Indy, we did see, well, the debuffs from the Goblin Big Boss, definitely very powerful. Unfortunately, none of the new units making it in here. I don't think any of the new Greenskin units are really particularly good against the High Elves. Yeah, I don't really think any of them shine that well. But the Goblin Great Shaman, of course, coming in on the Ragnarok, definitely did a number on poor Imric, and definitely helped sort of win some of those early blob fights. The Goblin Big Boss has taken advantage of that, of their new special ability. They need stab in to debuff my armor and melee defense, making Imric take so much damage. So a lot of fun there. If you guys have not checked out Indy's channel, there will be a link down in the description below. He's got some great content. He's got obviously lots of stuff covering the new DLC and lots of lore content, Dawn of War 2 stuff. Just some great Vermintide, all that, some great all-around content to check out. So certainly do check out his channel if you have not already. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. There will certainly be more content to come. And I will see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.